There's been a lot of talk about the cars we drive, lovers we've known, diamonds and gold, the kiss and tell your business side of life. Well, to be perfectly honest, it's starting to leave me cold. It's time to think about this world we're in. There's bridges down, work to do. The fear I have inside is the gap becomes too wide. You see, we have all seen the children on the streets, cotton hoods, ice cold feet, unanswered questions in their eyes. Bad things happen, no surprise. Then we read about these mothers at home, lots of friends, yet they seem alone. Who dares to judge them without grace when they've never met them face to face? I believe it's time our villages work this out with quiet words and deeds, not blame and shout. Some say it came down from the top. All I know is this madness has to stop. It's not just about the money in the bank. It's more about the fact that people do not say thank you or may I. Would you mind? Have you got time? Would you be so kind? In our heart of hearts we know one thing, and that is no child, I repeat, no child, I'll say it again, no child should be left behind. Thank you. I was a child that wasn't left behind. I was a child that was in a choir, that was in a brass band, that was in the football team, that played rugby, athletics, cricket. After school for me was just a panoply of joys. And all the adults who came and coached us and gave us time, I will be forever in their debt. I've been married 25 years with my wife for 27 years. My wife and I love carnival. We like dancing in the street. We like chaos. We like the Lord of Misrule. When we had children, we were wondering, how on earth are we going to do this? How are we going to get our children into carnival? So, what we did was we stood on balconies and we stood on the doorstep of our flat on Ladbroke Grove and watched it pass us by, but we're not very good spectators. So when we went to primary school, we decided to get involved with the PTA, and I realized the PTA, the aim of the PTA, and anybody out there who really wants to know, it's not arguing with teachers, it's not fighting the system, it's not anything, it's making sure the children have a good time. Okay? If anybody joins the PTA in later life or is a member, make sure the children have a good time, and all decisions are made with the children's best interest at heart. Not your history of your school life, but the children who are there now. We formed the band, and for the first year we borrowed costumes. We were given animal costumes. The children put them on, and there was a stupendous lion and a tiger and a peacock. Fantastic, fantastic costumes. And then there was my young daughter, Sasha, and she stood there as a penguin. She was as upset as you find it funny. Absolutely. We sat back and we had a good day and we got through it. Apart from the fact she got totally dehydrated because it was the wrong material for a summer's day. So we had to relook at how we did carnival. And the next year, a lot of people passed out. They didn't want to be involved anymore. So we decided to pick up the mantle. My wife had worked with the children in digital art, because we were sneaking art lessons through into the digital world in the IT curriculum, because at that point in time the curriculum was so busy they didn't have a chance to do art. So the children had all produced these beautiful masks. So we went out and did a digital masquerade. We put the masks up on poles, we all wore the same t-shirt, and we went down the road. There were about 60 of us. 16 years later, last year, there were 1,600 of us. We became the biggest band in carnival, and the reason being In our band, it was a democracy. Our band had no kings or queens or princesses. It didn't even have lions and penguins anymore. What we did, we all wore the same T-shirt. We all bought the same T-shirt, which paid for your membership into the band. The school we were working with, all the children produced a piece of art, which was then paraded down the street, so they were proudly being part of the carnival, even if they weren't there. And this was in Notting Hill. And then on the day, you could arrive and join our band. I was Captain Dance Hart. I stood at the front of the band, dancing backwards for 7 hours, and I would conduct, and we would have 600 poles going left, going right. It was amazing. We talk about voting, we talk about democracy. Democracy isn't that old. Women only got equality with men within the system in 1928, and I even have an argument to say that, as the young people you've seen today, I think it's time we actually lowered it and got more of the children involved. If you ever watch the children's government, it's phenomenal. They don't shout at each other, they listen, and they talk. But we can vote for our elected representatives, or we can vote with our spirits. We can vote with our actions. We can vote with our motive. And I think a lot of young people I've been involved with have got quite apathetic or sad and feel left out. Not because they are apathetic and sad, but they have been left out. So, in our band, you could become the king for the day, or the queen for the day, purely by your actions. If you danced it, you were it. If you customized your T-shirt, you looked it. And we had some of the best days of our lives. 16 years on, we are going to take a rest this year. But here's some of the images we used. This is the digital art produced by the children. It goes up, we hoist it. These were made of plastic bags, which were put together. You can actually use greaseproof paper, put a plastic bag, put some other plastic on top of it, put another piece of greaseproof paper and an iron, and you can create textiles. These were the flowers. We took a garden down the road. These were the umbrellas. That was the year we umbrellaed down the road, and this young lady had the best time. This is what happens when you put them en masse. And what we taught the children, I hope, and I think as from my own children now are involved, you can do anything. Together. You create an incredible effect. 200 umbrellas. It was like, as somebody pointed out, it was like it was like an acid trip of Mary Poppins, I think was the way they put it. And as you can see, everybody's having a good time. That's my arm. They're looking at me. They're looking for my movements. But to be perfectly honest, they don't need me. I'm purely there for a focal point for the young children who may be getting frightened. This is the garden under the Thames, at the Thames Festival. This is Night Carnival. When that lights go down, we come alive. It's a phenomenal event. And here I am doing my thing. It's pathetic, but it's great fun. 16 years on, we took a rest. But one of the things we did realize is we love carnival. And we love steel pan. Now, steel pan was the only acoustic instrument invented in the 20th century. I know you all know that, but this is a fact. And it is fashioned from oil drums. The powers that be said you could not have drums. They were revolutionary instruments. So they played bamboo and eventually went up to the steel pan. We moved to Shepherd's Bush, and we found that there was a pan orchestra who shared our values in terms of the way in which children and families were sort of entertained in the band. So we worked with Crystal Holder, and my wife and 2 sons joined the band. At one of the parties, I saw 6 or 8 bands play, and out of the 8 bands, 6 played the tune Brazil. Now, me being me, a total lunatic, I realized, so if Brazil is a standard tune for a steel pan, if we could manage to wheedle our way into the closing ceremony of the Olympics, we could be part of the handover to Brazil. And if we did it with 1,000 pans, that would be amazing. My wife smiled at me knowingly. Everybody else looked at me like I was mad. But the bottom line was, because of the process of Fox Carnival, I knew it could be done. So we started that process. And we got arrangers to work on the tunes. We recorded the arrangements and we put them on YouTube. We started to network with all the pan players across the country and explained what the scenario was. And as you all know, the effect of the Olympics was mesmerizing, magnetic, inspirational. So everybody wanted to be involved. And sure enough, we started to put it together. And on the day, in September 2012, They came from Middlesbrough, they came from Plymouth, they came from Bristol, they came from Norfolk, they came from Birmingham, they came from Croydon, they came from London, they came from everywhere, and it was everyone, and we were all included. I say to people one thing: we stand alone together, but I will see you on the quest. Seek beauty, speak truth, and walk with dignity. When you get £1,000, this is what happens. Look at that. This was the most amazing day. And I use the term a patient democracy because patience is the capability of tolerating problems, suffering, and delay without getting anxious or annoyed. If you're an elite artist, musician, scientist, or whatever, and you have a real passion for your talent, you will go in and you will go and work with whoever is available and you will teach it. You will find a language, whatever level is needed and required for understanding. As we've seen today, I've just been blown away by the passion that I've seen. When you get £1,000 players come out to play, you can see it in action. That's democracy. There's a guy in here, and I won't point him out, he lives in a bedsit, he only plays alone. And it was the first time he'd ever played in a band, and he played in the biggest band in the world in history. So it was a very special day. One of the things I wanted to talk about also was our young people. And even alluded to the fact that there's a lot of technology being used. I think our patients, this is my son, Ben. Hi, Ben. Say hello. Cool. Ben and I don't have an ongoing conflict, but we have an ongoing discussion regarding the amount of time he would be on the internet or he would be on his computer. And often he would get Mum's iPad and start messing around. And I wouldn't really know what he was up to. I've had to learn to be a little bit more patient with him and realize that he has the choices and he has been educated to be careful. So I'm going to ask you, what are you playing, Ben? Can you show me? What Ben is doing is playing the pan. Beauty of iPad. You can fit it on that. Now, we brought a few of Ben's friends in today as well. So if you could all come out for me. After £1,000, here they go. After £1,000, there was a few parents. We wanted to share the values and the ethos of excellence and virtuosity and fun, and our children to be safe and happy in an environment to create music. So we formed a thing called Strictly Steel. Now, for some of you, you might get the pun of the Strictly. For others, it's fine. Clearly, this isn't an audience of Strictly Good. But we're having fun. And as a musician and as an actor, and as somebody who's, others would say, may be in an elite class of actors and workers, one of the things that's most important for me is that I never become aristocratic. I never isolate myself. I always want to work with young people, and I want to work with new people. I work with new filmmakers. I want to work with new rappers, new spoken word artists, new everything. Because if I've learned anything in life, if you don't share it, it isn't worth much, really. You can sell it, but sharing it, it's magical. So, on that note, let's play. Okay, and about. Thank you. Excellent. While they take the drums off, that song is called Wonderful, and the lyric is simple. When you finally find what's beautiful, it's wonderful. When you finally find what's beautiful, it's so wonderful. And I believe the young people of our country, of the world, are truly beautiful. And it's wonderful. Thank you so much.